What's the latest here? Paul Manafort has been one of the focuses of this investigation for some time. Of course, we had news of a raid of one of his residences yesterday. What's the latest on how he's being looked at by Mr. Mueller and others?
So Manafort seems to be an early, intense focus of the investigation, partly because he's already got various legal disputes and legal exposure dating back years. So he's got some vulnerability, if you will, that the special counsel team, if they choose, could exploit to get him to cooperate in their investigation if he has anything to offer. So they, in recent weeks, have subpoenaed banks for any records of transactions involving him or his business associates or any of his firms, as well as approached some of his former business associates and asked them to help their investigation to put pressure on him. Mr.
Mueller has been in this job now for a few months. Explain the way in which what he's investigating now is continuous with what had been investigated by others before him.
Well, Mueller was appointed in May, and his mandate, if you look at the appointment letter, the top line of the mandate was to investigate the allegations of Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election. But there are also a couple line items to the appointment letter that are sort of catch-alls that allow him to go wherever he sees fit with the investigation. These issues, while certainly Mueller's supporters would say are tangential to the question of whether Russia interfered in the election, can sort of help create a roadmap for Mueller's team to eventually get there.
Where do you see this going? I guess that's hard to say, and this is so multifaceted and evolves day in and day out. But what does yesterday's raid tell you? What is the direction this special counsel seems to be going, and tell you about where this might be headed?
Well, I mean, it certainly does seem to indicate a lot of pressure on Mr. Manafort to get him to cooperate, to offer what he knows. Manafort and his supporters said that he is being cooperative, that he has volunteered information. The June 9 meeting in Trump Tower involving Donald Trump Jr. and the Russian lawyer, that Mr. Manafort was one of the early people to notify authorities about the existence of that meeting. He turned over, I believe, his notes of that meeting. So he is cooperating. Where it all ends up, who knows? It's just sort of what the investigators are able to find. And there are sort of a lot of different strings to pull on to try and get there.